Hey everybody, we're here on the St. Lawrence River, Major League Fishing Stage 5, and the Flogger is a big player this week. The smallmouth are on beds, so I want to take a minute to show you real quick what a Flogger is, how do we use it, when to use it, if it makes sense for you to go and buy one or not, and some little tips and tricks on how to manage your fish when you're going through practice, and how to use this by yourself. A lot of times this is only used in a team tournament, but there is ways you can use this by yourself. So watch the video and see why we're using this week. What's up everybody? I'm here today to show you how to use what we call a flogger. So this is a underwater looking device. We're here on the St. Lawrence River this week for stage 5 of the Bass Pro Tour, and these fish are on beds. So the beds are obvious. They're bright white spots. You can see those from a mile away. And unless the conditions are absolutely perfect, more than likely you won't see that there's a fish on it. Even though you can clearly see the bottom because the water's crystal clear here, you still, with the light penetration, with the best polarized glasses, none of that matters, because these fish get over the top of these white shell areas and their color of their body actually changes and they start to kind of conform to that bright white zebra mussel bed or shell bed that they're making a bed on. So if you see a bright white spot, you take this, even though the bed might only be in 4 foot of water, and I swear the fish looks invisible on it, but if you take this and you hang it over the side and you stick it in the water, you don't have to stick it very far, just enough to break the surface, and you can see that there's a fish sitting on that bed. This is more of a team tournament technique. If you're fishing a team tournament, your partner can hold this over the side of the boat and look at the fish, and then a guy can stand next to him and try to make sure, because even though the bed might look like it's this big around, the spot is obvious in the center. It might just be this one little spot in the center where that is the actual bed. They might clear out a big area, but the spot in the center is the actual bed. So it's very important for you, if you want to catch that fish as fast as possible, to just put your bait right in that little spot. Well, with the trajectories of the water and the angles and all that stuff and the current, you got a strong current out there, it's really hard to do without a flogger. So you can put this in the water. Some guys, I've never done this, but some guys even use ice fishing rods because they're real short, and they can hold this right over the fish like this and make sure that bait's in the bed to make that fish bite. Now there's a couple other tricks. Now this thing breaks down in 3 pieces. This top part unscrews, this middle part unscrews, and this unscrews, and it all goes inside of each other. You don't necessarily need this. It's not like you're really doing this. You can have your face away from it and look down inside of the flogger and see what you need to see. Typically, unless the smallmouth is really deep. You still need this to see a fish on a bed on a day where it's only 4 foot of water and it's crystal clear. Just because that wind's breaking the surface up and all that, you will not see that fish, I'm telling you, unless he's really big, or unless he just got there and he's really dark. But if he's been there a while and he starts to turn a lighter color, you really need this to see. So there's some tricks, and you can see I got some black duct tape here, and I've had this flogger for 2 years now, and I haven't fished a tournament yet where I needed it. But I brought it on this trip because I knew it was going to be a factor when we came up here to St. Lawrence, so I haven't taped it yet. So there's a few reasons why you want to tape your flogger with black tape. One of the main reasons is if you start waving this thing around in practice, it's like a big old flag. If you find a little bedding area and you're going around in practice doing this, your fellow competitors can see you across the lake from a mile away waving this orange flogger around. And so if you got a secret little spot, this is not what you want to be doing. So you want to tape it to where it's not so noticeable across the lake while you're looking at your favorite bedding area. Another reason why you want to tape it is it helps block that light penetration that's coming in here. It just makes it darker, so you're focusing more on the inside of the flogger versus the light that's coming through this orange. And then another reason, probably the most important reason, besides giving away your spot, is if a fish is on the bed, you can get right on top of a smallmouth and bed fish him. They're pretty aggressive. They're pretty easy to catch. Well, until you throw this big orange thing over his head, you're really getting that fish's attention and throwing up some signals. Maybe he's seen that before. Maybe that smallmouth has been caught before and he recognizes this. You just don't want all that bright orange stuff. So I'm gonna take this black duct tape and I'm gonna cover this whole thing from top to bottom with duct tape. That way my fellow competitors don't see me, the fish don't see me, and I'll start blocking light. This doesn't need to be pretty, but I'll go around and I'll tape this entire flogger with this black tape. So that's why we use a flogger. You'll see it done a lot this week on Major League Fishing. I know you can get them at Tackle Warehouse. I think this one's called a Poor Boy flogger. They're about $100, but that's all it is to it. You can see it's just clear plastic there, and you can see down in the tube. It's the same thing as putting goggles on your face and sticking your head completely in the water like snorkeling. Except that's not, that's not realistic when you're fishing a bass tournament. You have this, you stick it in the water, you look right through it, you see that there's a fish on the bed, you can tell how big he is. I'll make a waypoint on my graph. Here's a waypoint on the bed, and then I'll guess the weight by looking at him. It's like, he looks like a 3-pounder, and I'll put a number 3 for the name of the waypoint. That way when I see 50 waypoints, because I marked 50 beds, I'll see that this waypoint right here has a 3-pounder on it. So I'm gonna go to him first, or if you got a 6-pounder, you go to him. You prioritize. You don't want to go and catch all your 2-pounders first. Marking the name of your, how big the fish is on your waypoint and stuff like that, and then you can go around and look right in the water and make sure you're fishing the sweet spot. Also, a flogger is not for everywhere in the country. It's really not conducive for largemouth fishing. Typically, those fish, we go straight off of visibility and sight. Those fish are typically shallower, but these smallmouth can spawn out in 20 feet of water. It's really made for clear water, and the only place I've really ever seen it be a factor is for smallmouth. Because when those smallmouth get on those beds, they disappear. Like they're not as visible as a big largemouth. And then it's windy up here, so if the wind's blowing, you're not going to see him. But you can still see him with this, no matter how windy it gets. If you get that below the water line, no matter how rough it is, or cloudy or rainy or anything, you'll still see him with this thing. So very important. It's good to pre-mark all your fish in practice. You really don't want to be looking for bedding fish a whole lot during a tournament. You want to already kind of have them located. So my second day of practice, I think I spent 5 or 6 hours, and all I did was flog. I have about 30 bedfish marked for this next tournament, and I'm gonna try to catch them, even though this is a pain in the butt to do by yourself. But I got a little short 6'3" quantum smoke rod. That's the shortest rod I got, because you're holding the flogger in this hand and you're holding your rod in this hand, and you're trying to make it all work. So it's really hard to do by yourself, but all you gotta do is get that bait close to them. Those smallmouth bite, they're easy to catch. So check it out, get you a flogger. If you come up to the St. Lawrence River, Lake Champlain, anywhere on the Great Lakes, things like that is where it really plays.